Hello and welcome to the Leading Lounge. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Dubose. Here in the Leading Lounge, we talk with today's leaders and unpack lessons learned and being learned from a career of leading and communicating in their field. These conversations are designed to be both informal and informative, and we want to equip you with wisdom and tools to empower you as a leader where you are and where you want to be. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 31 of the Leading Lounge. Today I bring you Dr. Toya Burke Washington. Dr. Washington has 16 years experience teaching in the classroom. She's taught in multiple states from Ohio to Nevada to now down in Texas where she lives. She's taught little kids, big kids, kids in the middle, tons of experience in the classroom. And recently, since we recorded this interview, was crowned Houston Area Black Educator of the Year. So excellent teacher, full of wisdom, full of insight, full of experience. And one thing in particular I think you'll appreciate about this interview with her is she talks about communication and how communicating with 5-year-olds, with little kids, is really necessary in order to communicate well with adults. So if you're in a role, regardless of whether you're in education or not, where you're communicating with somebody, you're trying to take a truth and communicate it in a way that someone else understands it, or communicate messages, or communicate, directives, or anything. Share a story, share something. You can learn from Toya here. A lot of insight, a lot of wisdom. Appreciate her time. And also, since this interview, we have brought our hearts and brains and hands and feet together to try to bring ESL to our little corner of Harris County, Texas. So that launched since this interview to us and an army of like-minded volunteers. So I'm very excited about that. So Toya is a great gal, excellent at what she does, and I know you'll learn a lot from her in this interview. So sit down, watch it, and enjoy it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Leading Lounge. I got a special guest, Dr. Toya Washington, recently crowned doctor. When was your graduation?
My commencement was May. I said May. It's not May. September 24th. But I completed my dissertation defense April 11th.
Nice. Congratulations, Doctor. So Dr. Toya Washington, who's been in education for, she was telling me this is her 16th year, which also makes her old and and well seasoned.
A little bit.
Yeah. But not a rookie. Been at it for a minute. So Toya, thanks for joining me. I asked the first question to everybody, and it just gives you a chance to share your story and let us get to know you a little bit. But it's just, can you tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional journey that got you to Goose Creek, where you are today?
It's actually been a really long journey because, as you know, I'm not originally from the great state of Texas. I am from Ohio. And so I did my undergraduate work at the University of Toledo. And I went there on athletic scholarship, track and field. And then I graduated from there in 2007 with a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. And then I, after that, I said, you know what, let's just keep this party going. So I didn't take a break. And in the fall, I went right back and started my master's program in early childhood curriculum and instruction. And I finished that in 2009. Then I did take a break, got married, had some babies, started teaching. My very first year teaching, I remember, was in Toledo, Ohio, where I went to college. And I did that during my master's degree study. So it was nice to be able to have an actual classroom placement to do some of that coursework in.
Yeah, for sure.
So I taught in a variety of places in Ohio, some charter schools, some Islamic private schools, some public schools, just everywhere. And then my family and I relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada for 2 years. And while I was there, I worked for Clark County School District as a first grade teacher for 2 years. And then we relocated again to where we currently are. And I've taught in 2 different school districts here already. 4th grade, kindergarten, and now I am working as a teaching and learning coach for ELA, reading, and social studies for our grade school district. I started my doctoral studies. My journey was long, so I didn't do the quick route of like that whole 3 to 5 years. I took a lot of breaks. I had a daughter during that journey.
You had real life going on.
A lot of life. Yeah, I had a baby during that journey. We relocated the 2 times. My grandmother passed away, my father passed away. So it was like a whole situation. And so I still finished. It was long, but I still finished. And then on the collegiate side, I work as an adjunct professor of early childhood, focusing primarily on literacy, phonemic awareness, phonics, family and school community partnerships courses. I work as a dissertation chairperson, and I'm currently working as a subject matter expert to create a literacy certification program for the state of Indiana. So that's really exciting.
Wow. You got everything going on. So
I do.
tell me about, because I didn't know about this Islamic private school. What was
Yeah.
that? What was that like?
Okay. So I've taught in 2 Islamic private schools. Literally my favorite experiences as a teacher.
Really?
Literally.
How
Yeah, I
come?
taught because okay, so my very first year was actually the Islamic private school. And then I moved to Ohio and I had a charter school experience. It was tragic. It was typical charter.
Mm.
And look for a different job. And so I was still in touch with my Islamic homies, as I call them, from Toledo. And they were like, hey, this is school. And I was like, really? And so I applied there. And the reason it was my favorite, honestly, is because I feel like I was able to hone my practice as an educator without having to worry about behavior. And because I had full parental support. It's one of the only times as an educator where I have had 100% parent backing and support.
Wow.
So like if I send
Interesting.
something home, I know it's going to be implemented. If I reprimand a child, I know I'm going to get backed up. Like that doesn't always happen, but
Sure.
it's not really focused on just the instructional piece. And I feel like because of that, it's what made my instruction so strong.
Okay. Wow.
Mm,
Man, look at
yeah,
you. I didn't know you got all kind of teaching experience.
I do.
Public, private, little kids, big kids. Yeah.
Everybody.
In person, online, the whole
Every.
thing.
Yep.
So
Indeed.
so one of the things I was particularly interested in interviewing you about, so
Mm,
for people who do listen, they'll already know this, but you probably don't. So I've interviewed business people, military people, administrators, whatever, but I've never interviewed a teacher. Like I interviewed a principal before, but someone with as much teaching experience as you. So I want to ask you about specifically about communication as a teacher. So somebody told me one time that if you can't explain it so that a 5-year-old can understand it, then you really don't know it well enough, which has really helped me think through like, okay, so how do I say this to adults as if I was saying it to a 5-year-old?
mhm,
So in all that experience you've mentioned, you've taught a lot at the elementary level. So my question is, what lessons from teaching little kids, 5 to 10-year-olds, have you
mhm.
learned that's helped you communicate with adults in your new administrative role?
You know what, Justin? I really have learned that there is zero difference.
Really?
There's zero difference. Um, when I taught kindergarten, I know that I'm going to have to be extremely repetitive. Like, in order for their brain to form the synapses that they need to connect text to text or text to self or text to world, I have to repeat it and reiterate and
Mm-hmm.
reiterate. And in the role that I have now, it is the exact same way. It is the exact same way. I can tell you why something's important. I can show you how to do it. I can explain why you need to do it and give you all the resources, but I know I'm going to have to come back and ask, did you do it? Okay, let me remind you and let me tell you again why you need it. Does not change. It doesn't change when I teach college students. It never changes.
Hmm. So was that, how long did it take you to learn that lesson? Like
I'm
the importance of being repetitive. You're still learning?
still learning it. And I feel like what I found in my time in education, administration, all that is I tend to have more patience the smaller the humans are.
Okay.
I expect that I would have to repeat to my 6-year-old daughter or my 11-year-old daughter, honey, please go make up that bed over and over and over. But I found just personally, when I have to do it with adults, my frustration grows faster because I feel like I shouldn't have to.
Hmm.
I'm turning to take the expectation of what I think things should look like and how they should occur with the reality of what is.
Yeah.
And where we are right now. And so that helps me to kind of lower my stress and frustration level because there's no point of me stressing myself out about what I wish it was and what I think it should be, but to just like live in the moment, the reality that this is my situation and
Hmm.
this is what I do to be successful.
So if you view everybody as a 5-year-old version of whoever they are, gives you more
Absolutely.
patience with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because if you think about it, I don't know how old you are, Justin. I know we're both aging, but your actual temperament and your style of like being who you are has not really changed much. Like normally adults who got in trouble for talking as children are talkative adults, but they've learned, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
people like low emotional stability and throw tantrums. If it's not really like honed in from a parent or like reinforced by an authority figure, that does not automatically change. They will become an adult who can't hold it together at work and they're flying off the handle. It really doesn't change. They're
Mm.
just big.
Wow.
And when I realized that, like, in order for some type of like huge change to happen, there has to be a major life event that transforms someone's life. But if that doesn't occur, that's basically who they're going to be. And I
Wow.
can't person. I can't make you responsible. I can't make you. So I'm not going to stress myself out because that's not my job.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that
not to
makes
take.
sense because I'm thinking the different roles I communicate, the way I
Yeah.
talk to my kids it probably is really similar to like ministry work,
Hmm.
army chaplain, teaching. So
Yeah.
that probably is a good lesson. Just imagine you're talking to 5-year-olds and you'll probably communicate better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Huh.
Even like tone of your voice. I've had to work on that too.
Yeah, I guess that's true too.
When you're
Like so
a 5-year old, you don't reiterate to an adult that way. We tend to be a lot more harsh.
does that do you think or have you found that talking to someone like a 5-year-old, does it like feel demeaning or sound demeaning, or are people appreciative of like, hey, thanks?
No, because I don't say, honey, do you get it? Like I don't do that part of the 5-year-old, but it's the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I found to like what I notice I do now is I take a lot of fluff out of my speech. I'm clear and concise so that I can make sure that you understand exactly what my expectation is. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll example of what that expectation looks like for reference purposes.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, that's super helpful. I would have never thought about that, but
Mhm.
treating everyone like a 5-year-old, but not in like a demeaning way, just in a way that's
A human way.
helpful. Yeah.
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 Hmm.
Let me help you by giving you what you need in the most clear, concise, simplest form possible.
Yes.
No, that's cool. That's good. Good stuff. Um, your PhD, I mean, your dissertation you wrote was on mentoring.
Yeah, it was the cross-racial mentoring experiences of faculty members at four-year public universities.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
and that's a big part of what you do in your new role. So you're not in the classroom now, you're in more of an administrative role, but you're more of like a coach mentor type.
Yes. We actually have, it's funny because I actually have to complete mentor cycles with like actual like mentor paperwork. Like each cycle lasts 4 to 6 weeks of where we pick specific areas where I want to mentor this teacher in their literacy instruction. And so we meet, I model, we co-teach, and I observe, I provide feedback. And then after that, we assess what progress was made and if further mentoring and coaching is necessary. If they perfected or like at least if they're proficient in that specific area and they need additional assistance, then we'll identify another. It's like we focus on one thing at a time so that they don't get overwhelmed.
Gotcha. Okay. So because I had to do dissertation too, so I know how much is involved in it, and you learn so much.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick out one thing from your dissertation, like what's one really important thing you learned in the process of writing your dissertation that you're actually using now as you lead, coach, mentor teachers?
Do you mean writing wise or just actual like data
It,
acquisition?
yeah, anything, just anything that came up where you're like, oh man, I could, like, for example, mine was on communication,
Mhm.
and there was 3 types of communication, and I find myself intentionally now thinking, am I giving like this type of instruction or this type or this type? And it helped me communicate better. So if there was any one thing that you were just like, man, that was super helpful.
Yeah, actually, it was kind of the findings of my study. So what I did was interviewed professors and mentors and mentees, depending on what role they were in, to kind of establish what factors were the most important in those relationships that attributed to like overall mentor relationship success.
Hmm.
And some of the things were like clear communication was up there, availability, if there was reciprocity in the relationship. Like, are you holding up your end? And then I also looked at 3 factors that were very important. Um, and the 3 most important ones were, which I'm sorry, the 3 that were not important that I thought would be.
Hmm.
Race was important. Um, Gender was more important than race was. So was culture. and just overall the relationship. Like, what is your rapport with the person? Do you actually like each other? That was one of the highest things on the actual list. And so, like, knowing that now when I enter into a mentoring relationship, the first thing that I seek to do is establish like a ground, like a framework, that what do I at least like, because common interest was also one. Like, even if it's something like Marvel comics, like if we have at least one thing that we can build this relationship. And so I try to always start with, hey, just get to know them, not even about literacy or about teaching, but just about their personal life. And then even if we have to have a difficult conversation, at least they kind of see me as human a little bit and not just somebody who's telling them what to do all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're not just a boss or some school district representative or something.
Right. And then like I found that that really helps. And I think because I'm a coach that is not very far removed from the classroom, like I literally was just teaching last school year when I was finishing up.
Right.
And the fact that like this is just what I do everywhere, whether it's at the collegiate level or if I'm a subject matter expert for this university, like just to trust my words. I feel like there's always going to be some pushback when you're asking people to do something new or to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I feel like they're a little bit more open just because I can prove to you that what I'm asking you to do will actually work.
Right. So in your case, you got the credibility, you got the degrees, you got the experience, you got all that, but it's the relationship building part that you're intentional about.
Because like, people don't care how much you know, or if you're good, if you're a jerk.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so if I was pompous or prideful or well, I know, so if like my approach could change everything. And at the end of the day, my goal is for kids to read. So whatever I have to do with you to get them to do that, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So what are some practical ways that you found to do that? Like, do you first time meeting a teacher, do you start off, do you have like some questions you ask, or do you just have like a little get to know you? Like practically, how do you do that?
I just start talking. And this is funny because you know me and I'm an introvert. So this is the part of my job that's hard because I don't want to talk.
Right.
This has been the like I'm okay in my classroom with my students because I have to talk to them, but I literally talk all day. So what I normally do to start is like say it's a new teacher or someone I know I'm gonna have to mentor. Hey, what's up? How are you? How are you doing? Is there anything that I can just like right now in this second that I can help you with? To let them know that I'm an advocate. I'm not like it's not a gotcha.
Right.
Like my goal is literally I'm just assistance.
Right.
Because when them is not evaluative. I don't evaluate anybody. My goal is to get you ready before they evaluate you to tell you that part sucks. Don't do that when they walk in here. You're going to get marked like dinged up for that. I'm like, right. So I try to get them to see me as that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
Or, hey, where'd you teach before this? What are you most nervous about? Oh my goodness. When I was first teaching, this is what I was so scared about. What about you? Just to be relatable.
Yeah.
Then when I have to observe them, they feel like they know me at least a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
And then if I see them in the hallway, I don't even ask them about work. Like if I know they have like a sick mom or a brother, hey, I was thinking about you. How's your brother doing? Did he get back to the service okay? Or hey, how's your mom's treatments going? Is she doing okay? Like stuff that has nothing to do with teaching at all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just the human side of it.
Yeah, that's the part that is missing.
Yeah.
So I try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And relationship building is there's no manual for it. And so it's but you're right. If you just come in and you just start, hey, listen, I'm Dr. Washington, Dr. Burke Washington, this is the deal, whatever, you're not going to have near as much success. And probably you're not going to have the impact on them that then translates to kids reading and other things that you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, good stuff. So Toya, one question I love asking everybody, and I always hear a different answer. So I'm interested to hear yours is, I have a theory that is people can identify more with your failures than they can with your successes. Absolutely. So I like to ask everybody to tell me about a time when you failed and like not a success, but a time when you failed at communicating. What'd you learn from it? And how did it change your approach to communication after that?
Which time? Oh my gosh. Okay. So for me, what I've learned, because I've done this a lot, is if I walk into a room and I see something really, really bad, like I'm appalled, to take a beat. Don't say something right then. It's not going to come across nice. And you know me, so I have this face.
If you do not have a good poker face.
I do not, bro. I don't. So if I walk in here like somewhere, I'm going to go, like it's everywhere. So I've learned I'm working on minding my face and not saying something right then. There's nothing wrong with waiting. Because if
Mhm.
I say it while I'm like frustrated, like, I just told you what to do. That is not what I said to do. I just showed you. That's not what I said. I'm going to be I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to be kind to you. I'm not. So I'll say, okay, you know what? You go ahead and finish and we'll talk about it later. Just keep going. And then I have to go in my office and like scream into the desk.
So
And
did
then,
you learn that because you
because
said
I've done,
something?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think what I said was, okay, I can tell you, I said, I don't know everything that does work, but that does not. Don't do that again. That's not it. Don't do that.
And
Don't say that. That's not
was
kind.
was
But it
this
was,
in a classroom setting, or what was the deal?
the students had left. She's like, what did you think? I was like, no, Fran. None, which part? I said, none of that. None of it. Like, at least try to have at least one positive before you go in. You can't
Yeah.
just like what sucked. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I even do like, your room is decorated so nicely. It's so calm and inviting in here. Even if it's all that I have, I gotta find something.
Right. Yeah.
Two things. Don't speak right away. Take a beat to like, right? And then compliments. People love compliments.
Yeah.
They love a
That's
good
true.
compliment.
And they can I don't remember I heard this, but the Oreo approach is what I always heard. It was like you got a
Yeah.
positive on either
Mhm.
end, and you fit the negative thing that they can improve on right in the middle. Because like you said, they love compliments, and if you kind of sandwich your critical feedback with some
Yeah.
compliments, receive better.
And like, if there's multiple critical things, just pick one. Do not give anybody all the feedback that's negative in one sitting. Like, nobody wants to feel like they're being like torn to shreds,
Right.
especially struggling and having a difficult time. Just pick one thing.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
So what was in that instance where you were just like, no, all of it, nothing? What was was there like relational fallout? Was there like professional friction? Like
Not
what happened?
no fallout, but I did hurt that person's feelings and they cried.
Oh, dang.
They cried. I felt bad. I was like, oh no, no, not tears. You know how I feel about it, right? I'm like, okay, wait, friend, wait. Like, and you don't know where people are personally and
Hmm.
mentally. Like, that might be the last straw. And they're like, I'm quitting today. This is it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're in a
Yeah.
teacher. I want you to stay.
No,
So like,
that's totally true.
yeah. So I just try to be mindful of like, and I feel like as I go through like tough things in my own life, I try to keep that at the forefront. Like, everybody's struggling. Be kind,
Yeah.
So
And I'm just thinking back to what you said earlier about talking to people like they're their 5-year-old self.
mhm.
That actually probably would be helpful too. I'm just thinking for me personally, if like I would give feedback to a 5-year-old, I wouldn't be like, bro, you suck,
Mhm. Right.
I'd be a little more gentle with it.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, good. All right. Last question. So if the
And
present day Dr. Toya Burke Washington could visit with the first year Miss Washington or Miss Burke or Miss Burke Washington, what advice particularly about leadership, like leading others, what advice about leadership would you give your first year self?
this is so hard because like part of me would be like, like, don't up, don't get sucked in. Like, part of me would really say that because leadership is hard.
Yeah.
You take the fall for everything,
Mm-hmm.
even when it's not your fault. And that's the part that I struggle with. Like, I know I didn't do this, but I'm in charge of you and you did this, so I did this.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think I know what it is. Don't take everything so personally. Like, sometimes when teachers get upset or they like go off on you because you say something they don't want to hear, even if you are kind, it's not personal. Don't take it home. Don't take it out. Just okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's very hard to control your emotions when someone's doing it to you, especially if I know that I've exhibited kind behavior and speech towards you to not get that in return. So just learning how like not to internalize other people's bad behavior.
Yeah. No, that's
That,
good. And that's good for not just teachers, but any field you're in.
yeah,
Is don't take it personal.
yeah.
Don't take
Because
it
most
personal. Don't take it home.
people's outbursts or their responses, it honestly has nothing to do with you. Like, so many times people have come back and been like, I had an argument with my husband and I was already mad. And that this was first and I am so sorry. Like, that is not always, but like normally it's something else.
Yeah.
Because I asked you for like a lesson plan and you screaming. Like, that it couldn't be this.
Yeah.
You know what I like? So
Yeah.
like and that's hard across the board, like even in marriages and just in your everyday life, not to like let it make you a bitter person or to think, well, I'm not going to help them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like it's like heart work. It's very different.
Well, one thing I found too, to go along with that, is from the person receiving that and the person giving it, is like the person giving it they don't want to do it either. Like they're doing it because it's a part of their job and like they're
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So, yeah, on the giving end, give some grace. On the receiving end too, give some grace, because
Yes.
it's like, man, this person is just a human trying to do their job.
Yeah, I just feel like from the administrative end, we get less of the grace though,
Oh
because
yeah.
the people see you in a certain light, they can't see you outside of that. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so it's a very, very difficult position to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It is.
and they get maybe a little relationships get complicated because your role now affects how they feel about their future, their stability, their paycheck, their whatever. And
Hmm.
so it's complicated, but yeah, don't not taking it personal is probably, you could probably apply that anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I just one more if I could add. What I've learned is just be direct. Um, Confrontational and direct are not synonyms.
mhm,
And sometimes being confrontation is necessary if you're not being nasty. Like sometimes I have to be like, what you said or what you did is not okay. Like
mhm.
I would prefer that than if you told somebody else or if you beat around the bush. Sometimes you literally just have to say the thing.
Yeah. Well,
And
and it's
sometimes,
a
yeah, sometimes you may not like it, and I have to be okay with that.
right, yeah. And somebody told me one time, they said that's really a form of kindness. Like
It,
the person telling me, they're like, this form of kindness because I'm trying to help you. So
mm,
receive it as me trying to help you with your development, with your growth, all that. Even though it
yeah,
is hard to receive.
and it's easier to take if there's a relationship. Like if like I've
Yep.
known you for a couple of years, so if I said something to you, you would probably, even if I was very direct, which I normally am, you would take it a whole lot nicer than if you were a stranger. You'd be like, "Who is this girl, and why is she telling me?" You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that foundation of relationship first kind of makes the difficult things easier to land.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, that's all great, all helpful. Well, I will be praying that in your relationships you have with these teachers and stuff you mentored, that you just get fruit and little snapshots of, I don't know, success, and kids learn to read, relationships are built, adults are supported, a whole education system grows, because I know you got the right tools and you got the wisdom and the experience for it. So, um, yeah, I think your teachers are lucky to have you.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for giving me whatever this has been, 30 minutes or something of your
My
time.
for you, Justin. We're out of this.
We'll keep doing what all these intermittent things and change in the world. ESL's next. You and I are going to help change people through ESL.
I guess we are. I'm excited. Meeting on Friday.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, thanks again, Toya. And thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Leading Lounge.